And I have a delightful panel coming up, really. All of you familiar with Nalli saris? Do you know how many saris they sell in a year? Any guesses? Wild guess? 1.5 million saris a year. That's just Nalli saris. Please put your hands together for Lavanya Nalli, the vice chairperson of the Nalli group. Can we welcome her on stage, please? Thank you. I'm glad to see more women in a sari. We've got too few of them in the audience. And another very, very special guest who has been engaged in reviving and selling handloom saris for the past many, many years, in fact, more than 4 decades, is the co-founder of Vimor Saris, Pavithra Muddaya. Please join your hands to welcome Pavithra on stage. Come on, a big round of applause for Pavithra and Nalli, and Lavanya of Nalli, yes. And the inimitable, always provocative, superbly talented design and fashion guru, one of Bangalore's best-known voices, Prasad Bidapa. Let's welcome him on stage. Big round of applause for Prasad, who's going to be leading this fascinating conversation.
Thank you. Check. Well, welcome to this session. I must say we've hit the lunchtime session, so most of you all must be very hungry. I hope you all are not going to leave in the middle because we're here to celebrate women in handloom. And I think it's a subject that's very close to my heart because, as you know, India has a 3,000-year history of textile traditions, weaving the most beautiful saris in every corner of India, and besides that, the khadi tradition as well. And these two ladies with me have done yeoman service to the industry, and the credit really goes to Indian women for having saved the handloom industry in this country. During the time of the British, they almost finished off all the handlooms of India, and all our fathers are standing there wearing clothes made out of Manchester fabrics, dressed in wool. Many of you may have seen the pictures of your ancestors dressed up like that, but the women never, always in a beautiful sari, whether it was a simple cotton or an elaborate silk. Indian women never let go of the handloom tradition, and that's why today India is the last country in the world to possess this immense traditional treasure of textiles. And Pavithra over here has done such fantastic work. She comes from a generation, the second generation actually, of a great tradition. Her mother was Chimmi Nanjappa, who was a contemporary of Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay and of Pupul Jaikar. And these were the women who revitalized and presented the handlooms of India to make it the wonderful fashion fabric it is today. We spend our lives telling you that khadi ought to be a luxury fabric. This is a handmade fabric. Look at the way the Japanese appreciate everything that is handmade. In India, we've gone towards the machine-made. In handloom, we are not against the machine-made. We say there is a time and place for it. But at the same time, we talk about why handloom should be the national treasure of India. Every single one of you have a commitment. This is our fabric of freedom. We walk as free men and women today because of what Gandhiji did with khadi. And if we cannot repay that immense debt we have to this wonderful, emotive fabric, then we shouldn't call ourselves Indians at all. But thankfully, with women like Pavithra and Lavanya around, I don't think there'll ever be any danger of losing sight of the objective. Tell us something about women in handloom, Pavithra.
Thank you for having me in this program. I'm really privileged to be here. Women in handloom the women in the handloom industry have always been pre-loom. So they are the unseen faces that are behind the sari. So man may weave it, but all the other things that go into making a sari are all done by the women. They are never put on the statistics or never counted as part of the wages. And this is something that has always bothered me. And over the years, the good thing is we've managed to tell them that they have to give a hand to their husbands and man the shop or take care of production, which is a good thing, especially seeing us as women. That was a great learning for them. And today I'm happy to say a lot of women are participating.
And Lavanya, you've been part of a textile tradition for 5 generations or more. And Nalli silks is something that everyone in South India and many people in North India know as a platform for some of the finest handwovens in the country. What do you have to say about the state of this national treasure?
So I'd like to believe that it's always going to continue to be a national treasure. And I think that part is true. Where I'll give my comments more from what I see as a business person and from a more practical standpoint. Us having been in this business for 5 generations now. We started out as weavers and moved into the retail trade, and now we've got the chain of sari stores all over the country. We've got 9,000 weavers that suppliers, vendors, that's our base. And and a lot of them are the long tail, which is smaller artisans where we buy up their entire production capacity. And our stronghold is, of course, in handlooms. What we've seen and what I'm seeing is there is that very strong respect for saris, but it's more and more becoming an occasion-led wear. And so there's a little bit of bifurcation where I do see, I think a lot of women and a lot of men also do consider the sari as a national treasure. A lot of women do have these in their cupboards. But I think while they treasure them, they wear them less and less. And that's something that we're seeing for various reasons, convenience or for whatever.
But younger women today are wearing saris in fantastic contemporary styles. Yes. I see designers like Abraham and Thakur and Rajesh Pratap Singh send out saris on their young models, worn with T-shirts, worn with corsets, worn with all sorts of things. And even the drape has moved away from the standard ulta palla and sida palla into something that's more drapey and more effective and more modern. So I think that everyone just needs that little bit of encouragement to make this happen. And we need to talk about sustainability because it's the new buzzword in fashion, sustainable fashion. But does anyone really know the meaning of what sustainable fashion is? I think it is something that is defined by the fact that we pay a fair price to a weaver, an artisan, enabling him to have a life that is full of comfort and good things. I think the time has come to remove them from, that image of that poor peasant villager weaving inside his house and eking out a living and making ends meet, and the middleman comes and buys this product for a certain amount, which is finally sold in the cities for 10 times the amount. So how do we address that aspect of it?
So the answer is in the question, right? Like the only way where saris can thrive, because I think it will thrive, it's got to be a concerted effort. There's one aspect which is the branding, the perception, and what it means for a woman, right? It is a garment, but it's also beyond that, right? It's adding beauty to your life. It's taking something that someone has painstakingly woven together. And of course, you can choose to wear it only for weddings and occasions like that, or you can choose to wear it on a day when you're feeling a little low and you want to do all of that. But I think it comes down to, like you said, it has to be a sustainable livelihood for the artisan. It must provide gainful employment, and it must be an accessible product. And if that's the case, then I think it will continue to thrive in our tradition.
You see, today we face the onslaught of Chinese fabrics coming in, machine-made, power-loomed fabrics, and many Indian designers tend to use those to make clothes with. And I keep wondering, because in Japan, once Issey Miyake asked me, why don't all designers use khadi and the traditional textiles? Why are they all buying polyester and making little black dresses out of the whole thing? And the answer to that is really quite sad, because the Indian fabric has the potential to become a global product. It needs to be put into the hands of a clever designer who can take and make something that has global resonance. Don't you think that time has come,
So when you
Pavithra?
talk of sustainability, for me, the primary thing is, I think the first thing as a designer is to put food on the table. How do you put food on the table? By building up pride in their inheritance, telling them they've inherited something that the public wants. And that, from the sense of building up a pride and putting food on the table, that is when he can start being creative. I mean, you can't expect anyone to work on a hungry stomach. So the first way we've worked is give him that security. And how we have worked is, while we give a design, we always have a buyback, so they can work in a risk-free environment. That is very important towards sustainability.
At a project called the Rajasthan Heritage Week, we gave the textile weavers, the printers, the dyers of Leheria, the beautiful block prints like Ajrak and Dabu, we gave them equal status when they presented their saris, and we called them designers, and they actually walked the ramp with the models at the end of the show. I thought that was according them a great status, because why should it always be that they are the lowest of the low? They are as creative as any big designer, more talented than many designers I know. Why is it difficult for us to view the artisan as an extremely talented designer? Every single one of us makes that mistake often in our lives. We bargain with them. I mean, a woman will go and spend 2 lakhs on a Louis Vuitton bag and wouldn't dare to argue in that store, but you feel free to walk into an artisan's shop or hovel or house or whatever and say, kitne pe denge? The Indian anthem, you know, kitne pe denge, is something that they have to put up with. I mean, we actually have signs at exhibitions saying, no bargaining, please. Why do we as Indians devalue our own product so much, Lavanya?
I think some of this has to do with awareness. Now, a branded bag, one of the luxury brands, there is so much branding behind it. They say, look, we use the finest quality leather, it's made in our factories in Milan, and so on and so forth, right? But the artisan who puts out, say, a beautiful Kanjivaram or a Banarsi sari, he doesn't have that platform. He doesn't brand it, but he's using the best quality silk. He's using something where you can fold it, keep it in your cupboard, and 3 generations later, your granddaughter will pick it up and it wouldn't have frayed on the edges, because that's how strong and how excellent the silk is. He's using pure zari, right, which is gold, gold thread. He doesn't brand it. And so when he doesn't brand it, there's a little bit of that which is lost, right? And consumers, the end consumer, I think if they recognize this, and it's happening through a lot of the 100 Sari Pack and the revival programs, and a lot of talk now that's happening in that space, I think as the consumer gets more sensitized to this and they recognize it is painstaking. It takes 3 weeks to make this particular sari. It takes sometimes 7 months to make that particular sari. Everything from the dyeing technique to how the weaving technique and so on. And then there is the weaver is not a factory worker. He's a creative entrepreneur, right? He's not mass producing something. So I think the more awareness there is on what goes into the product, automatically people will start to value it for what really it is and how unique it is, and how somebody who's given you something like this, he can't run the line and give you another exact same type.
Another thing I'd like to say is also talking about why is it that we devalue it as a community and as a society. I think also we have to take responsibility that it's our heritage. So do we need to be bribed to buy our own products is a question that I'd really like to ask. We go and buy it only when we see that 20% discount. And I think that's something that needs to really change, because it's something that belongs to all of us. So why should we have to ask for a discount when we support our own system and culture?
But then again, we have a problem. Like, for example, the Prime Minister launched a beautiful site called Skilling, which gave young Indians opportunities to work in different fields and learn different skills. But in that Skilling website, there's not a single mention of hand skills, of the artisan, of weaving, of printing, of dyeing. You know, Mahatma Gandhi once famously said, you put a loom in every home and there'll never be poverty in India. And he was very right about it. But did we listen? No. Until today, I think a young man in a village in Rajasthan or Gujarat is being encouraged to open some kind of a lathe shop or a machinery shop or a bicycle repair shop. And they think of that as skilling. I think we need to collectively work on bringing the hand skills back into focus and telling the world that what we have is absolutely unique. Bangladesh is the only other country with any kind of a khadi heritage or a hand-woven heritage. And besides the two of us, Pakistan's given up completely on it. Sri Lanka never had a weaving tradition. So that just leaves the two of us in the market, and India's size is 100 times that of Bangladesh's in terms of the market. But I think the time has come to translate that this product can become global. Because the other problem is the next generation of weavers and dyers and printers who have seen their parents struggle so much do not want to enter the business. They'd rather go off and do IT and BT and learn other skills, and they don't want to see their grandmother and grandfather sitting there and, chopping, block printing. But times have changed. Today it has become a much bigger business, and I think recognition has come to a few of these artisans, proving that it can be done for everyone. What would you suggest that we do next on this?
Talking about the next generation, okay, if I have seen weavers turn into entrepreneurs and business people, so you can teach aesthetics, design sensibility, and things which will help them for their other production. So their sons who are MBA engineering boys come. If you show him it's a viable business, why would he migrate into a city and be a non-entity? So in most of my weavers, they are very successful business people who are rooted in weaving and in tradition. I think that's a great model to take forward, because if you show them it's viable, great. Why is it that, so the government always tells me you are an accident. I can't be an accident for 45 years.
Yeah, that's true. And Lavanya, how do you find the public reacting to the beautiful products? I know you bring the best of hand-woven saris to Nalli's. You have practically every variety from the south to the west to the east, and what little there is in the north. Is there anything in the north? There really isn't anything in the north, very little. Well, UP is... Yeah, okay, we'll give you Benares. But Benares is beautiful. I mean, it is the queen of Indian textiles. I completely agree with that. And thank you, Deepika Padukone, for wearing a Banarsi to your wedding, because that made thousands of other young women choose to wear a Banarsi or a Kanjivaram at their weddings too. But we need to change our mindsets about our own products. We have got to see it as luxurious, beautiful, deluxe products that we need to pay good money for. That you should be willing to pay for a fine sari that you can put into your cupboard, wear with pride, and hand over to your children later. Of creating an heirloom, really. How do we go about educating people to respect our own developments and tradition?
So I've been asked this question a few times, and to be honest, my own thought process on this has evolved with time. And now I'd like to tell people, it's not an education. It's don't wear a sari because you feel you have to wear a sari. Wear it because you get to wear a sari, right? You get to wear a sari. Where else do you have the luxury of wearing something that's someone's art, but you wear it, right? And it embodies you. We have so many things, we put ourselves through, I'll speak to the women here, but even the men. We put ourselves through so much of discomfort for silly things, right? How many of you own a pair of high heels? Right, what does it add to your life? It gives you backache, what does it do for you? Right, but you put yourself through that discomfort. And then still the same women come to us and they say, oh, but it's so inconvenient to wear a sari. Yeah. Right? And then, and how many men here own a tie? Right? What does it add? But you still put yourself through that. Saris add so much to your life beyond just the beauty, right? And try this experiment. A day when you're feeling low, wear a sari. I guarantee you're not going to yell at anybody. I guarantee you're not going to get frustrated because you embody that, right? And also, the people that you come in touch with, they're used to seeing women in positions of power wearing saris. Teachers, bureaucrats, doctors, lawyers, a finance minister, right? Yeah. So try it. Try it because you won't recognize the power that this has till you actually wear it. Don't wear it because you have to. Wear it because you get to.
And break tradition, wear it in different ways. Leave off the petticoat, wear it with a pair of light jeans. Wear it as a half sari, but wear it. Because I think that's the encouragement that the industry needs. And Pavithra, you are coming up with your 45th year's big celebrations at the Bangalore International Center next week. Tell us something about that.
So this is a 5-day event happening at the Bangalore International Center. We've had a journey of 45 years, which started out as a necessity. But our main thing is to preserve design across wherever the origin of the design is, and to train a weaver. So we do it by looking at his skills so that we can preserve that part of it. both in terms of effectiveness, in terms of what is possible instead of drawing something that's just a museum piece. And some of our productions, designs have gone on for 40 years, like the Puja Sari. I think almost everyone owns it.
From
and
Indira
we have
Gandhi onwards,
From
yeah.
Indira Gandhi, and we don't have ownership. We let go of design. So we create a design, let it go, and that has its own journey. I've also got a little museum of living textiles. I'd be happy if all of you come because it's a celebration.
The Museum of Living Textiles is in Victoria Road, Victoria Layout, very close behind Lifestyle. And she's put together a collection of textiles from all over the country. And for those of you who are design students, it is a must visit, something you really need to go and see. Have you been, Lavanya? You've not been there yet. You must go and take a look at it. It's absolutely fantastic. But I'm looking forward to your program, and I know that we're doing a small fashion presentation of the different drapes of India.
So we are getting
So all of you all,
weavers
you must
to
be there.
talk.
Mel, are you listening to me? You be there.
We are getting weavers, from our Kambli weavers to people who worked, to show them it's possible. You can start with 2 looms and go up to 80 looms, 2 houses to 20 houses. So the possibility is immense. If we could do it with no institution, anybody can do it. And it's a great way for livelihood support and preserving our textile culture. That's what I'd like to say.
So I think we'll end on that note. We've said all we have to say. And again, congratulations to the women of India for having carried the great handloom tradition forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Prasad. Thank you.
I hope they're ready for us to end because it... Is that all right, Barka?
Yeah, I mean,
Normally
you had more
pushing
time,
people
but
off
you all
the stage.
ended well before time. So why don't we take 1 or 2 questions? Yeah, can we get you the mic? Yeah, we can hear you, ma'am. Hang on.
My name is Zahida Mullah. I'm basically a corporate lawyer and also an IP lawyer. This is my request to the people in textiles and basically Bidapa sir and a lot of fashion people. I see a lot of fashion happening where they're trying to revive a lot of textiles, but nobody is talking about the GI, what we call as geographical indications, which is basically a registration for the authentic textiles. I have seen nobody in India. So this is where fashion law comes into place. This is also copyrights. These are designs which are copyrights. So if any fabric which is being on the ramps, which is Banaras, or anything of any state, you need to say this is authentically woven by the weavers so that everybody knows that this is authentic. This is consumer awareness. So I just like to touch upon that point.
I know that both Pallavi and Pavitra actually weave the weaver's name into the sari. So you actually have a signed artwork like that in many cases. So.
About the GI, I'd like to make a point right from the time when it was there. I was part of, calling all for these meetings. I've always objected to saying, okay, give the place of origin its due, but let other people use it because we need so many hands to be employed. The idea is having a GI to a particular place works well when it's documented. In the absence of major things like Kanjivaram and Banaras are documented, but there are hundreds of small weaving techniques across the country that have no documentation. So on what basis are we really asking for the GI, filing a GI? And this is something that I've always been against because I'm saying, let's protect it for India and open it out to all Indians to use it. And I agree totally with you because in the absence of documentation, where is the sense in creating this law and losing the little that we have? I think that is right.
Okay, let's take another question.
Here, my point here is, isn't it the middlemen who are actually exploiting the workers? We have all the big brands acquiring from the middlemen who in turn get it from the actual weavers. They're given around 1/8 of the due, market up to 200 to 400%, then sell it to brands, and then brands will pick it up from there, and then expect the consumers not to go in for discounts because the discount is not really from the weavers, but from the brand houses and the middlemen.
But with a little bit of research, you can go directly to the weaver. In India, that's a great advantage that everyone has. You go down a street and you find some fantastic weaver, a printer, a dyer. You can find them. You can find them.
Here
and
in
buy
Bangalore,
it.
sir?
Here in Bangalore too. If you go into the silk markets of Avenue Road, you'll be able to buy fantastic Bangalore printed silk in vast quantities of it also.
But I do want to answer that some of this is also perception. So I'll speak only from what I know, right? Like I said, Nalli procures from 9,000, that's our supplier base, small to large. Many cases, there is no middleman. We go directly, right? And then we buy up their entire production capacity. Now, let's take your scenario and play it out. If that were true, and it is true in some cases, what ends up happening? The price of the product goes up, right? Substantially. When the price goes up so much, automatically entrepreneurship rises. There will be other people in the ecosystem who say, hey, you know what? I can provide the same product and service for a lesser price. These are market forces. It will correct itself, right? So the kind of exploitation narrative, I think there is nuance to it, right? There is nuance to it. While what you're saying is not entirely false, it's not as pervasive. There's no big bad middlemen, right? A lot of times what happens is it's actually inefficiency. It's inefficiency, it's wastage, it's a lot of, and on the demand side, there isn't an understanding from the consumer as well to say that, look, this product takes 3 weeks to weave. How much should we put in for manual labor, for labor charges for this creative entrepreneur so that he's able to make a livelihood from it, right? What should his monthly income be if 3 weeks has actually gone into this? Plus, like silk cost and the cost of Sari and the cost of everything else. So I think a little bit of understanding as well on actually that product cost economics would help a lot.
Last question,
Yeah, at a time when the entire weaving industry is in a shutdown, so how do you think you can sustain it? Because we see many handlooms are being shut down today because of the economic policies that
Just buy a lot. You know, like in America, they say that you can improve the economy if everyone goes shopping on one day. We can do it. You know, I mean, all of us are holding on to our money this bad season. I think Diwali's seen the lowest sales ever in 20 years. Everyone's had a blacker Diwali than normal. But the money's there. And, you know, like I wanted to just go back to a story. The Chinese have taken Kanchivaram looms and Kanchivaram weavers back to China. They've learned how to reproduce Kanchivaram on machines, on the power looms, and then they flood the product back into Tamil Nadu. You can go to Chennai and buy a Kanchivaram on the street for 500 rupees. Completely plastic Sari, plastic fabric, plastic everything, but looks very grand, looks like silk and has the chamak, and you can wash it 100 times and nothing will happen to it.
It sounds awful.
Awful. But to that woman on the street who doesn't have the wherewithal to buy something more expensive, does she care?
So I have a question to all three of you. I don't know if I missed this while you were talking. Are you worried about the sari fading away?
No, not
No.
at all. Not
Because
Definitely not.
I put a poll here and I had to raise my hand in an embarrassed way myself because I would love to wear saris, but I always think I'll trip and fall and it'll come off. And at 47, I'm still worried about that.
You need the tailored sari. That
I
you
need the
just step
tailored
into.
saris. So I want to just put the audience poll again and then ask you to react to it. If you don't wear a sari today, why do you not? Someone, anyone, speak up. Okay,
But,
I don't know how to go to a loo when I'm wearing a
Can
sari.
I tell you,
Yes,
sari
Pavitha.
is the only thing that allows you to go to the loo in privacy, feed your baby in privacy. It's the only garment that you can say, do all this with ease. You don't need to pull down your pants to go to the loo. It's a sari.
Anyone else? Why don't you wear a sari? Stand up, stand up, stand up. You don't know how to wear one? You don't know how to pleat?
Create your own style. Create
So
your own
you'll
identity.
come to the program of
Create-
Pavitras. We'll teach you how to drape a sari.
Any last thoughts? Why you think the sari will live on? The eternal sari, when you have these younger people worrying about pleats and going to the loo and, the rest of it.
On pleats and all of that, they just go to YouTube. There's enough out there. Go to YouTube, ask your friends. But the fundamental thing is, look, if you really value something, you'll put yourself through the hardship. Just think of why we wear makeup, why we wear a tie, why we walk in heels. If you value it enough, I think you'll put yourself through it. And for you to know whether you value it or not, you've got to try it once. And then I think you'll figure it out for yourself.
And with or without a safety pin.
Absolutely.
Tell the truth. Do I have a safety pin on now?
I'd say till you're confident, you definitely need the safety pins.
Okay. Wonderful to hear these stories. I'm going to actually ask Prasad to do the honors here. We want to honor Pavithra and Lavanya for
That's
keeping
lovely.
our wonderful legacy of the sari alive. There's nothing like it.
That would be
the swag
brilliant.
of the sari is unbeatable. And so let's please honor Lavanya and Pavithra with the Her Award. I'll ask Prasad to do the honors. And you can catch them when they come out. Ask them to give you some free tutorials on the way out. How to pleat, how to do this without a safety pin. Big round of applause for Lavanya and Pavithra and for Prasad. Prasad, come. Let's get a photograph here. Prasad, can I request you?
Can I do one?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you very much.